I was 8 years old, standing in a gas station parking lot, watching my mother's car disappear down the highway. She just told me to throw away my drink cup. When I turned around, she was gone. That was 18 years ago. Last week, she knocked on my apartment door asking for money. I called the cops instead. My name is Julia, and I need to tell you exactly how I got from that terrified kid at a gas station to the woman who had her own parents arrested. So let me take you back to that day. It started like a joke. We'd been driving for maybe an hour when Mom pulled into this rundown gas station. Before I got out, she turned around with this smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Let's see if she can find her way home," she said. I laughed. Obviously she was kidding, right? I grabbed my empty cup and hopped out. That's when I heard it. The locks clicking. The engine starting. I spun around just in time to see our car pull away. Mom didn't look back. Not even once. I stood there holding that stupid sticky cup, waiting for her to loop back. Any second now, I kept thinking. The car got smaller. And smaller. Until it was just a dot. And then it was gone. The sounds around me got loud all of a sudden. Pumps beeping. Tires on asphalt. People talking like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. I went inside and tried calling her on the pay phone, hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the receiver. Straight to voicemail. "Mom, I'm still here. Did you forget me? Please tell me what to do." She never called back. Minutes turned into an hour. Then 2. The clerk slid a free soda across to me. Somewhere between the first refill and the second, I realized something that made my stomach hurt. This wasn't a prank. My mother actually left me here. The police found me around sunset. A female officer crouched down and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders. "Julia, right? You're safe now." Safe. I didn't feel safe. I felt abandoned. That night, they opened a file with my name on it. Child abandonment. My parents had vanished. Phone numbers disconnected. Address empty. By the time the paperwork was done, I was living with a woman named Helen. Everyone called her my aunt, but I barely remembered her. The first thing she did was hand me a house key. "If you live here, you carry this," she said. "No locked doors you're not allowed to open." I stared at that key. At my old house, I wasn't allowed to have one. Too irresponsible, Mom always said. Life with Helen was different. There were rules that made sense. Get up on time. Do your homework. Tell the truth. And there were things I'd never had before. Packed lunches with my name on them. A night light in the hallway. Someone who noticed when I flinched at car doors slamming. When I couldn't sleep, I drew. At first, always the same thing. That gas station. Over and over. The pumps. The parking lot. A tiny car driving away. Helen found one of my drawings on the kitchen table. "You can draw other things, you know," she said, sliding fresh paper toward me. "Things you want to see." "I don't know what I want," I admitted. "Then keep drawing until you do." So I did. I drew oceans and cities I'd never seen. But that gas station kept showing up in the corners. A sign on the horizon. A strip of pavement in the background. I couldn't erase it. So I stopped trying. I made it part of the landscape instead of the whole picture. School was okay. Kids knew I lived with my aunt and that my parents weren't around, but the whispers faded. I got taller, sharper, less afraid of my own shadow. By 18, my case file was thick with social worker notes. The last one said, "Doing well with guardian. Plans to study art. No contact with birth parents." No contact. I thought it would stay that way forever. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I'm 26, living in a tiny apartment above a coffee shop. My art studio set up by the window, I've got a part-time design job, and my first gallery show coming up. Life finally feels like mine. Then someone knocked on my door. Hard. I ignored it at first. I was painting, in my zone. Whoever it was could come back later. The knocking came again. 3 heavy blows that rattled the door. My body remembered that sound before my brain did. My heart started pounding the same way it did at that gas station every time a car pulled in. "You're not 8, I whispered. "You're not stuck." Then I heard her voice through the door. "Julia." We know you're in there. My paintbrush clattered to the floor. I'd imagined my mother's voice so many times in nightmares. But this was different. This was real. Julia, it's Mom. We just want to talk. Please open the door. I made myself look through the peephole. 2 people stood there. Older now. Wrinkled clothes. Tired faces. My mother. And my father. 18 years. Not a single word. And now they're on my doorstep. I unlatched the chain but kept the deadbolt locked. Opened the door just a crack. Hi, I said. You're late. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Julia. Oh my God. Look at you. What did you expect? That I'd still be 8 and waiting at a gas pump? She flinched. My father cleared his throat. We deserve that. We know what we did. We've been trying to find you for years. I actually laughed. That's funny. I've had the same phone number for 6 years. Same email for 8. Same ad since the night you drove away. We lost everything, Mom blurted. The house. The business. We've been moving around. Not an apology. Just excuses. What do you want? I asked. Dad's jaw tightened. We're in trouble. Debt. Legal issues. We thought maybe you could help. Just until we get through this. Help. I thought about 8-year-old me at that gas station. Nobody helped her. You abandoned me, I said quietly. You left me on the side of the road. And now you're here because you need money. Mom reached toward the door. We were stupid. We were cruel. We've been punished for it. Not enough, I said. Behind them, my neighbor Mrs. Campbell stepped out with her dog, taking in the scene. 2 strangers pounding on a young woman's door, refusing to leave. I thought about my case file. Child abandonment. I'd promised myself that if they ever showed up, I wouldn't be that helpless kid anymore. I'm not giving you anything, I said. Not money. Not a second chance. Not a place in my life. You made your choice 18 years ago. You can't really mean that, Dad said. Watch me. I shut the door. They exploded. Pleading. Arguing. Fists pounding. But my hands were steady as I picked up my phone. For the first time when it came to my parents, I wasn't calling to beg. I was calling to report. The dispatcher sounded calm. To confirm, they're your biological parents. You haven't had contact in years. And they're refusing to leave. Yes, I said. And there's more. When I was 8, they abandoned me at a gas station. There's a record. Pause. Okay, Julia, she said, tone shifting. Officers are on their way. Stay inside. Do not open the door again. Outside, the knocking continued. Mom's voice cracking. Dad getting angrier. When the siren started wailing, my entire body relaxed. Like I'd been holding my breath for 18 years. I didn't open the door when officers arrived. They talked to my parents in the hallway first. Then knocked gently. I let them in and told them everything. One officer took notes while the other listened, eyes narrowing at specific details. You said there was a file from when you were a kid. Yes. Child Services. I was placed with my aunt, Helen Bennett. They exchanged a glance. We'll follow up. For now, do you want them trespassed? We can order them not to come back. If they do, they can be arrested. Yes, I said. I want them kept away from me. And I want to know what can be done about what they did back then. His eyebrows lifted. We'll see what's on record. Sometimes old cases can be reopened. Either way, you did the right thing calling. The right thing. When the officers finally left, so did my parents. For the first time since that gas station, it was my choice. That night, I called Helen. Julia, what's wrong? I told her everything. The knock, the plea for help, the officers. She went quiet. I always knew this might happen, she said finally. People like your parents, they rarely live with their choices forever. Eventually consequences catch up and they start reaching for anyone they can pull down with them. So you think that's what this is? Not regret. Desperation. I think they regret the situation they're in. I don't know if they regret what they did to you. Her honesty hurt. But it felt necessary. The officer said they'd look at the old file. Oh, there's a file, Helen said grimly. I kept copies of everything. They were investigated for neglect long before that gas station. That was just the first time they couldn't talk their way out of it. Why didn't anyone tell me? You were 8. You already thought you were the reason they left. I wasn't going to pile their sins on your shoulders too. Bring me what you have. If there's a way to hold them accountable now, I want to know. I'll be there tomorrow. We're not running from this. For the next few days, my apartment turned into an evidence room. Helen spread manila folders across my table. Incident reports. Social worker notes. Photos I didn't remember. A little girl clinging to a blanket. A house with peeling paint. Every page was proof that what happened wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a choice. Repeated. Documented. One line in an old report made my throat tight. Child expresses belief that she is too much trouble and that parents will change if she's better. I remembered saying that. I just didn't realize someone had written it down. By the time the detective called, my decision was made. The detective's office was smaller than I expected. Cluttered desk. Dying plant on the windowsill. Julia, he began, I've reviewed the old reports. I'm sorry for what you went through. This time it didn't sound like filler. It sounded like he'd actually read the words. So what happens now? He tapped the reports. Some of this is too old for criminal charges. But the abandonment combined with the new contact, the financial pressure, we may not be able to punish the past, but we can absolutely protect you in the present. I don't just want protection, I said. I want them to face what they did. We can document everything. If they keep contacting you, we can move to charges. Harassment. Intimidation. And the old file doesn't disappear. Judges don't like seeing a child abandonment next to someone's name. He studied me. What do you need to be able to sleep at night? The answer came easy. I need them to know they don't get to walk into my life, demand help, and walk out like nothing happened. I need them to understand there are consequences for them. Not just for me. His pen scratched. He nodded. If they reach out again, call immediately. If you're willing, we can be nearby to document their behavior firsthand. My parents didn't show up the next day. Or the day after. Then the messages started. Unknown numbers. Voicemails. When I finally played one, my mother's voice crackled through. Julia, please. We're sorry. We're in trouble. You're doing well. You can help us. I forwarded it to the detective. He called back within hours. If you're willing, we'd like to be there the next time they come by. Just talk through the door like last time. Something cold and precise clicked into place. They'd come if they thought I might finally give them what they want, I said. 2 days later, I sent one message. If you want to talk, come by Thursday at 6. We'll do this once. The reply came instantly, we'll be there. Thank you, sweetheart. Sweetheart. The word almost made me laugh. On Thursday, I cleaned the apartment the way I always did when nervous. Helen sat at my table watching me pace. You don't have to do this. I'm tired of running in my head, I answered. I need to hear them say it. I need them to hear me say no. At 5:45, my phone buzzed. The detective, we're in the building. At 5:58, the knock came. Julia. It's us. I stood just out of sight, heart pounding. Remember, Helen whispered. You're in control. This is your home. Your door. Your life. I spoke through the door. I'm here. I'm not opening it. We talk like this. Stunned pause. Fine, my father said. As long as you listen. They started with their story. The failing business. The fights. Feeling trapped by having a kid too young. How the gas station was supposed to be a wake-up call. You made a choice, I interrupted. You didn't panic for 18 years. You drove away and kept going. Mom's voice cracked. We were ashamed. Every year made it harder to come back. We watched your aunt's posts. Your school pictures. We thought you were better off without us. Until things got bad. And then you remembered I exist, I finished. Because you needed something. Silence. You didn't lose your daughter, I said. You gave her away on a highway next to a gas pump. We're trying to fix it, Dad insisted. You're successful. You can help us pay off the worst. Alone. We know you have savings. We saw the article about your show. Something in my chest snapped. You checked up on me, I said slowly. 4 years. You knew where I was. And you still never called until you needed money. Mom started crying. Loud. Messy. Please, Julia. They're threatening us. If you don't help, we could lose everything. You already lost me, I answered. That should have been everything. They kept talking. Every word threaded itself into a timeline going back to that gas station. This wasn't about love. It was about survival. Theirs. Not mine. I picked up the phone and pressed call. They're here, I told the detective. At my door. Asking for money. Admitting everything. I feel unsafe. On our way. Keep them talking if you can. I leaned against the doorframe, suddenly calm. You know, I said loud enough to carry, for a long time I thought karma would handle you. But I realized something. What? Dad demanded. The universe doesn't knock on your door, I said. Sometimes you have to. The siren started in the distance. Mom's sobs turned to panic. Julia, what's happening? Red and blue lights flashed through the peephole. Footsteps pounded up the stairs. Helen looked at me with fierce pride. You didn't abandon anyone. You chose yourself. For the first time since that gas station, I believed her. The hallway went quiet when the siren stopped. Then everything happened at once. Boots on stairs. Radio chatter. My parents talking over each other. This is ridiculous, Dad snapped. We're her parents. You abandoned a child, an officer answered. Right now, you're here uninvited after being warned. That's enough. A controlled knock. Julia, it's Detective Harris. Can we come in? I unlocked the door. Let him and another officer inside. Locked it again. Are you okay? He asked. First time anyone had asked me that with my parents on the other side of a wall. I'm fine, I said. My voice was steady. Hands weren't shaking. He nodded. They're being detained while we sort this out. On record, do you want them formally trespassed from this building? Yes. I don't want them here ever. He made a note. You did a good job keeping the door closed and getting them to talk. We caught more on the hallway camera than you might think. I blinked. Camera. He pointed at the black dome near my ceiling. Covers the hallway. We have footage from the other night and we're recording now. Combined with the old CPS file, this is more than a bad family reunion. Helen stepped closer. What does that mean? He looked between us. It means we have a documented pattern. Neglect. Abandonment. Now harassment, intimidation, and attempted financial exploitation. Only that child is an adult now. And she called us instead of waiting for them to decide her fate. Because they asked me for money. That alone isn't illegal, he said. But this is. He pulled a document. When we started digging, we ran your name through databases. Someone tried to use your social security number to apply for a loan last year. It was denied, but the attempt is on file. The contact number traces to one of your mother's previous addresses. My stomach dropped. So they were already trying to use me. That's why I asked what you need to sleep at night. We're past hurt feelings. We're talking identity theft and a long history of putting their needs above your safety. Outside, my father raised his voice. We just want a chance to explain. The detective met my eyes. Here's what we can do tonight. Formal trespass order. If they come back, they go to jail. We take statements, collect footage, forward everything to the DA. They'll decide about charges for harassment and attempted fraud. What about what they did when I was 8? He exhaled slowly. Some of it's outside the window for criminal prosecution. But it isn't invisible. Judges see patterns. Old reports matter. If they're charged now, those reports help the court understand who they're dealing with. It wasn't the clean justice I'd fantasized about. But it was something. Okay, I said. Do it. Whatever you can do. He nodded. They want to talk to you out there. I'm advising against it, but if you want to say something with us standing next to you, you can. I looked down at my hands. At the paint smudge under my fingernails. At the tiny scar on my thumb from when I'd cut it as a kid and Mom told me to stop crying because we can't afford weak children. I'd cried alone in the bathroom that day. Now I had officers and my aunt ready to back me up. I'll say one thing, I decided. Then I'm done. The hallway felt smaller. My parents stood between two officers. Mom's mascara had bled. Dad's shoulders were rigid. Mom's face crumpled when she saw me. "Julia, please. We're your parents." "There it is again," I said quietly. "That word. You keep using it like it's a magic key." "We made mistakes," Dad said. "But we're still your family." I looked from him to Helen. To neighbors peeking through doors. "No," I said. "She's my family." I nodded toward Helen. "You are two strangers whose last real act as my parents was leaving me at a gas station." I did find my way home. It just wasn't to you. Mom's breath hitched. "We've suffered. We lost the house. We've been chased by creditors." "You suffered because of your choices," I cut in. "I suffered because I was a child you decided was disposable. And even now, you're not here because you suddenly love me. You're here because you ran out of options." I stepped closer, stopping just outside arm's reach. "This is the last time we speak," I said. "You are not welcome in my home, my life, or the story I tell about myself. If a judge asks, I'll tell them exactly what you did. And if you try to use my name or my guilt again, I will use every piece of paper in that file to make sure it costs you." The only sound was Mom's breathing. "You can't erase us," Dad said quietly. "We're part of who you are." "I know," I answered. "But I get to decide what part. You're not the people who defined me. You're the warning label." The before picture I walked away from. Detective Harris spoke up. "You've heard her. You're being formally trespassed from this property. No contact by phone, email, or in person. If you do, you'll be arrested." "This is insane," Dad muttered. "You're under investigation," the detective corrected. "I suggest you think carefully about your next move." They were escorted down the stairs, out to where the patrol car waited. I didn't watch them drive away. I'd already done that once. This time, I turned around and walked back into my apartment before the engine started. For the first time in 18 years, I wasn't the one left behind. I was the one closing the door. The investigation didn't change my life overnight. There were appointments, phone calls, paperwork. The DA's office interviewed me twice. Interviewed Helen. Pulled my old case file. Subpoenaed the loan application filed with my social security number. A month later, Detective Harris called. "We're moving forward. Harassment. Attempted fraud. We're including pattern of neglect history from the CPS files. It won't undo what happened, but it'll sit in front of a judge with their names on it." "Will they go to jail?" "Possibly. Depends on the judge, their record. But even if they don't, there'll be consequences. Fines. Probation. More importantly, there'll be a record that follows them." As a kid, I'd imagined revenge in big strokes. My parents on their knees. Me walking away while everything burned. But now it looked different. A judge reading abandonment and identity theft in the same paragraph. Two people who'd once held my future, standing in front of a bench with nothing left to bargain with. The hearing was set for 3 months later. In the meantime, life kept moving. My gallery show opened. People walked past my canvases murmuring words like haunting and resilient. They lingered longest in front of one painting. A highway at dusk. Small gas station glowing in the distance. And in the foreground, a woman with her back to it, walking toward a horizon made of city lights. No one knew it was my self-portrait. A local reporter asked to interview me about how trauma shaped my art. "I used to think healing meant pretending it never happened," I said. "Now I think it means telling the story where I'm not the weakest person in the room anymore." On the morning of the hearing, I put on my only blazer. The woman in the mirror didn't look like someone who needed her parents to validate what happened. She looked like someone who'd already decided what home meant. The courthouse smelled like paper and old air conditioning. Helen sat on one side of me, Kate on the other. When the bailiff called my parents' names, they shuffled in. They looked smaller. Not physically. Smaller in a way that had nothing to do with height. They saw me. I saw the flicker of hope. Maybe she'll speak up for us. I didn't. The judge read the charges. Harassment. Attempted fraud. Violation of prior CPS orders. The public defender made a weak argument about financial desperation. The prosecutor laid out the facts, sliding reports forward one by one. The hallway audio played. My mother's voice filled the room. My own voice followed, calm and sharp. You didn't lose your daughter. You gave her away. The judge glanced over his glasses. His mouth a flat line. When it was my turn to speak, I stood up for me. I'm not here because I'm angry they're poor, I said. I'm here because when I was 8, they treated me like something they could leave behind. And years later, they showed up trying to use my life again. I'm not asking you to fix my childhood. I'm asking you to make it clear that people don't get to do that and walk away clean. My voice didn't shake. The sentence wasn't dramatic. Probation. Mandatory financial counseling. Restitution for credit damage. No contact order. A note added to their records that would follow them. They wouldn't go to prison. But for the first time, they were officially, formally, publicly labeled as what they were. And I was no longer the only one saying it. Outside the courthouse, Mom tried to catch my eye as they were led away. I turned toward Helen instead. You did it, she said quietly. I didn't go back, I answered. I brought it here and walked past it. Later that week, Kate drove me to that lonely stretch of highway. The gas station was still there. Different pumps. Different logo. Same place. Are you sure about this? She asked. No, I said honestly. But I need to see it as the place it is, not the ghost it's been. We bought coffee we didn't drink. I walked to the edge of the lot, to the spot where pavement met gravel. In my memory, this place had been enormous. Endless asphalt. Now it was just a parking lot. I pictured 8-year-old me standing here, clutching a sticky cup, watching taillights disappear. I used to think this was where my life ended, I said. Now I think it's just where the wrong people left. Kate bumped her shoulder against mine. And the right people found you. I smiled. Yeah. They did. I took one last look over my shoulder. The gas station didn't feel like a wound anymore. It felt like a landmark. A chapter heading. A place I passed through, not a place I lived. That night, I started a new painting. No highways. No gas pumps. No doors. Just a woman standing in front of a blank canvas, brush in hand. The outline of a key on the table beside her. The caption I wrote when I posted it was simple. They left me to see if I could find my way home. Turns out I didn't need to. I built one. Thanks for listening, and if this story resonates with you, don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about second chances, standing up for yourself, and finding your way home on your own terms. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is close the door on people who never deserved to walk through it in the first place.